So, welcome back to a quick channel update that I was actually going to do at some point in a week's time, but I figured it would probably be best off now based on information regarding my schedule that I've got coming up. And it's also best to just do these things in a little bit of advance time so that, it's not immediately coming into effect right away and it's a bit jarring. Because there are going to be some changes, particularly with regards to my schedule moving forward. And unfortunately, there's really no silver lining to this, I guess, because it is just a straight up scaling back of the amount of content that I'm going to be able to put up on YouTube for various reasons. But obviously, the biggest one is because university is starting again, and this is in conjunction with part-time employment that I already have. And so this is more or less going to be 40 to 46 hours each week under normal circumstances that I'm going to be putting into that. So that obviously means that I'm going to have a much fuller schedule than I do at the moment, where it's just my part-time job and obviously the YouTube content. So I was able to keep with the one video every 2 days, but that is clearly going to be impossible moving forward. I guess it wouldn't be fully impossible, but for reasons that I'll get into later on, it's certainly something that I would not want to do. But ultimately what I'm going to be doing is scaling back to 2, sometimes 3 videos a week, depending on the amount of stuff that I have to do during the week. Obviously, ideally, I will try to do the 3 videos a week, but more often than not, I imagine it is going to be 2, just because it is going to be pretty full on. It's going to be pretty intense with regards to the academic side of things at university. And of course, there is the part-time job as well, which is obviously going to be taking up quite a lot of time moving forwards put together. Now, of course, in the past, when I was doing my bachelor's degree, it was kind of a little footnote that I did mention from time to time, the fact that my YouTube thing was kind of like my part-time job, and I have got adverts enabled on my videos. But the fact of the matter is, YouTube does not pay an awful lot of money, especially not to a smaller channel like myself. Even with a sort of basic part-time job of the kind that I have, it is anywhere from 3 to 4 times as much money that I get from my part-time job. In comparison to YouTube. And I never really sort of viewed my YouTube thing as just a money-making thing anyway. I did it because I like doing it, and that's why I'm going to continue doing it in spite of the fact that my schedule is going to be quite constricted. It was just a sort of way to supplement my student life, because everyone knows that students are incredibly and cripplingly poor. And the fact that I have been able to get very convenient part-time employment is part of the reason why I'm having to scale back on the YouTube side of things. Now, I am aware that most people who go on YouTube as well, with a view to making it sort of more of a moneymaker for them, often don't rely just on the adverts to make their money. But most of them sort of crowdfund and use services like Patreon as well. I don't really want to use Patreon, though. As I've said in the past, the only reason I would see for using sort of a crowdfunding tool like that to supplement my income is if I was genuinely serious about seeing it as sort of my full-time employment moving forward into the near and far future, which, again, for reasons that I will get onto in just a moment, I don't really feel as though that is ever going to happen for me. I am quite impressed with the fact that my channel has managed to grow as big as it can, but again, for reasons that I'll go into in a little bit, I do feel as though my channel has reached as big as it's going to get. I do feel as though this is kind of the limit, and while my subscriber count will often, obviously continue to slowly creep up in the way that it has during my my time on YouTube, I don't really feel as though overall the people who are actually watching my videos, I don't think that number is going to increase any. I feel as though we have sort of reached the peak of what is possible with my channel in its current state, and I'm not complaining about that by any means. I feel as though I've done quite well for myself, and that's why I'm going to be continuing to make videos alongside my my stuff that I've got going on in my real life. But yeah, point being is I can't really turn my channel into enough of an employment to either do it full time, as most like large channels do, which I certainly don't feel as though I'm going to be able to get that high, but even just to bring it up to the same level as the part-time employment I have at the minute, I would need my channel to be about 3 or 4 times as big as it currently is with regards to the amount of views I'm getting. So you can see the disconnect here, and that's part of the reason why I don't want to use Patreon either, because I feel as though it's a little bit, I don't know, I don't really want to, I'm not going to say lower myself to use Patreon, because for a lot of channels it is a very necessary part of keeping them alive, but I feel as though taking money off viewers is a little bit disingenuous if you don't intend to actually pursue it as full-time employment, and I can't do that at the moment, and nor would I want to, because I do have a bit of an opportunity to do something with regards to my academic studies. A lot of people go into university, as did I have to be honest at the start, just sort of aiming for something sort of in quite a wide field, but now I have something which is a lot more focused, and I do feel as though I can actually make something of that. So again, that's part of the reason why I can't afford to really just plough full on into my channel full time, because for a start I don't think the scope is there to actually make something massive out of it as it is, but also just the fact that it's not worth risking my academic pursuits for. You know, I could try perhaps to continue to do one video every 2 days, but my general mood and mental state, and also my academic grades, would probably start to suffer, and so it's certainly not worth doing that for this, even though I do continue to enjoy making videos. Because to increase it, or to keep it at the same level whilst everything else is going on, I do believe I would start to dislike making videos, and that's the last thing I want to do, because the only reason I've kept making videos for the amount of time that I have is because I do continue to enjoy it, especially considering the latest patch is, you know, just over a month old at this point. There's been a lot of new stuff to talk about, and it's been good. I've enjoyed it a great deal, but perhaps now that the patch has been around for a little bit, it doesn't quite justify sort of pumping out videos at the rate I've been doing anyway. Now that the new stuff is fully settled in, we can start to be a little bit more... I can be a little bit more selective with what I'm doing, rather than just talking about everything as much as I can, perhaps. But as I was saying, you know, with regards to maybe trying to make my YouTube channel big enough to the point where I don't need part-time employment anymore alongside my studies, for a start, I would need that to happen within the next 2 weeks, which obviously that isn't going to happen. But also, I feel as though my channel, in terms of, you know, views, subscribers, its overall size, is probably about as big as it's going to get as it stands, and that's because of the kind of channel that it is. It is an incredibly niche topic. Total War in general is a game series which is not, you know, it is popular. You know, Total War is a big series, but it is quite niche with regards to content on the old YouTube. I think there are obviously several channels which have managed to get big off Total War, but obviously I arrived very late to the party in those terms, and obviously that is a huge disadvantage for me with regards to actually growing my channel any larger, and I have no delusions of grandeur that I'm going to be able to get my channel to a state where it is sort of on the same level as, like, you know, channels that have like 100,000 subscribers and pull in like at least 25,000 views every video. I don't believe my channel is going to do that. And also another problem is my channel is even more niche than most other Total War channels, because I cover Third Age Reforged pretty much exclusively, which is of course a sub-mod for a 6-year-old mod, I believe at this point Third Age is, which is a mod of course to a 12-year-old game at this point. So you can see the fact that I'm quite amazed, honestly, that my channel has managed to get as big as it has, you know, considering the level of, you know, it again, I'm sort of struggling to find the words here really, but it is such a niche topic that I'm surprised that I've managed to gain the amount of attention that I have. But it is for these reasons as well that my channel can't really grow at the rate it needs to if it's going to be a big channel. And again, like I said, I don't really know if I'd even want a big channel, but the point is, it cannot be the employment that I would need it to be in order to keep making content at the rate that I'm doing at the moment. And of course in the past I have tried sometimes to sort of probe and maybe branch out into fairly similar areas with regards to just Total War or even strategy games in general. But every single time really it hasn't really gone that well. You know, people, you know, there have been several comments in the past as well which have been, you know, very much, you know, all I want from you is Third Age Reforged, just keep making Third Age Reforged and that's it. That's fine, but this is the situation that I find myself in now because of that really. You know, my channel has grown as much as it can, I think, and I do feel as though that it will continue to be a thing, of course, but you know, I feel as though the tone that I've taken in this video so far has been one of I'm stopping altogether, but I'm not. You know, it isn't really all that much of a decrease, to be honest with you. It's maybe a 40% decrease in videos coming out, but I do feel as though that is fairly extreme considering the amount I post, and people will if I just didn't say anything about it, people would notice and go, why aren't you making so many videos anymore? Well, this is the reason why, essentially. And also I feel as though, with regards to that, I'm sure some people will say, well, why don't you, take the time now to perhaps try and branch out? Well, I do feel as though that ship has somewhat sailed, because now, with, again, all of the real life stuff starting up in full flow once again, I feel as though the time for experimentation has somewhat passed. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be doing slightly less videos per week. And it's not as if I'm the only Reforged channel anyway, so it's, other people can certainly pick up the slack with regards to half of my videos suddenly going missing. And it does have, I guess, somewhat of a silver lining in the fact that I can afford to be somewhat more selective with the replays and the content that I now put up. So, for example, if I have, I still have an enormous backlog, to be honest with you, with regards to replays. Not that this is a red light for people to stop sending me stuff. I'm always happy to accept more replays, and replays of higher quality and on unique maps and sort of large scale are more likely to get bumped to the front of the queue now, because, again, if I'm only doing 2 videos a week, I want those 2 videos to be battles of the highest quality that I can possibly show. So that is something. It is also worth mentioning as well that there was a recent replay that I actually cut from putting up on my channel, because I'm not going to name any names here, but the player who sent me it will certainly know who they are if they've watched this long into this little update. And it essentially boils down to the fact that it was a 4v4 field battle on the frozen lake bed, and 2 of the players crashed extremely early on. The battle was of terrible quality overall, to be honest with you. I was extremely angry actually towards the end of the replay, and that's part of the reason why I didn't end up posting it up, because it came across as kind of poor on my part as well. But the point is, I cannot afford to have my time wasted anymore. These 2 videos a week are going to be all I'm going to be able to do, so don't just send me any old battle that you want me to show, because even if I do get round to showing it, chances are I'm going to be extremely displeased with you if you've just sent me a battle because you're in it and you played well, but the overall battle itself was of very limited quality. There was a 30% differential, there were players crashing on both sides. Don't send me those battles, please, going forward, because it will cripple my ability to put videos up, and potentially it could leave me without a video for a whole week. So that is what it is. But yeah, overall, to summarise, moving forwards, I will be down to just 2 or possibly 3 videos a week moving forwards. Obviously, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is worth mentioning because 1 video every 2 days I've been doing for quite a while at this point has been fairly intense for schedule to try and keep up, especially given how long the rendering and uploading process on YouTube can often take. But yeah, I feel as though this is doable, and obviously if things drastically change as we move forward, whether I can go back up to my old schedule or whether I will have to cut it even further, which I really don't want to have to do, because doing just the 1 video a week I think would, YouTube would probably start to punish me with that. I'd probably start to see my channel start to contract rather than grow. But yeah, that's essentially the situation as it stands. A little bit of a rambling update there, as they often are. I don't tend to script these things, I just go into them and speak what's on my mind. But yeah, that's essentially the situation that I find myself in at the moment. With things starting to get a little bit busier, I am going to have to make some cuts with regards to the amount that I'm going to upload, but I'm not going anywhere. The content will probably remain pretty much identical as well as it has been over the summer as well, with regards to the individual videos that I put up. But yeah, obviously support is often nice as well, because YouTube will probably not take too kindly to the fact that I'm suddenly cutting the output that I have on my channel in half. And YouTube is all about momentum ultimately. If your momentum starts to go down, it punishes you in the sort of recommended settings and all of that. So continuing to watch my stuff is honestly the only thing that I can say that will help me at this point, because like I said, I don't intend to open up a crowdfunding thing really, because I really don't. I feel kind of icky doing that, to be honest with you. I really don't want to accept people's money for doing something that I just enjoy doing in its own right. So yeah, that's the situation there. But nonetheless, thank you all for watching, or listening I should say really, to this small channel update. It's a little bit longer actually than I normally do, but I feel as though this is probably the most significant change that has happened to my channel in some time, because I have often prided myself on the regular uploads that I've been able to do, with a few gaps here and there. But obviously now that is going to be significantly lessened. So I hope that you found this informative with regards to what I'm going to be doing in the future, and I do hope you will continue to enjoy the content that I'm putting out. Thank you very much, everyone.